The night my roommate asked me to zip her dress, I expected to do it in 3 seconds and go back to pretending I didn't notice how she looked. Instead, she went still under my hands and said, almost like she hadn't planned to say it, "Don't let go yet. Too quiet. Too sure." Like a sentence that had been sitting behind her teeth for months and slipped out before pride could catch it. I stood there with my fingers an inch from her spine and learned something I had spent 2 years refusing to learn. She heard it after she said it. I watched her shoulders register the sentence before the rest of her did. And then, very carefully, neither of us moved. My name is Daniel Reyes. I'm 34. I work as a logistics coordinator at a freight company that ships things across 3 states and occasionally loses a couch in Ohio. It is not a glamorous job. It pays for an apartment I cannot quite afford on my own, which is how I ended up with a roommate 2 years ago when my old college friend texted me a photo of his sister and said she needs a place. She's clean. She's quiet. Don't be weird. I was not weird. I was something worse. I was careful. Her name was Cora Reyes, no relation, which became the running joke neither of us ever stopped finding funny. She was 29, a paralegal at a firm downtown, and she carried a metal water bottle that looked like it had survived combat. She had a small scar on her left eyebrow from falling off a porch at 6. She drank coffee like she was angry at it. She laughed at her own jokes a half-second before the punchline, which should have been annoying and somehow wasn't. The first night she moved in, she stood in my kitchen and said, "I don't cook. I don't clean," dramatically, "and I don't apologize for the second one." I told her that was the most honest lease I'd ever heard. She said, "Good, I hate roommates who pretend." And that was the whole foundation of how we lived for 2 years. 2 people pretending not to pretend. She had a sticker on her phone case of a small, angry frog holding a knife. She'd bought it at a gas station in Tennessee on a road trip with her sister and refused to take it off, even when it started peeling. That frog became the thing I looked at when I was trying not to look at her. I had a lot of practice. The dynamic was simple and unspoken. We were roommates. We split rent and groceries. We watched bad television together on Tuesday nights because neither of us could explain why Tuesdays felt the loneliest. We did not flirt. We did not touch. We had a rule, never written, that the hallway between our rooms was a kind of demilitarized zone. You crossed it in pajamas, or you didn't cross it at all. I told myself I respected her. That was true. I told myself I wasn't interested. That was the part I kept needing to repeat. The wedding invitation arrived on a Thursday. Her cousin Marisol, getting married 3 hours away, the kind of reception that would have an open bar and a DJ who took requests seriously. Cora threw the envelope on the kitchen counter and said, "I have to go, and I have nothing to wear, and I hate everyone who will be there." I said, "Sounds great. Have fun." She said, "Daniel, I need a +1. I have poor survival instincts around women who phrase requests as statements." I said yes before I thought about it. She said, "Good, I already told my mother you were coming." She had asked me before she asked me. That should have been a sign. It was, in fact, the sign. I just didn't read it yet. The night of the wedding, she came out of her room in a dress, the color of dark wine, holding her shoes in one hand and her phone in the other, and she stopped in front of me in the hallway with her back turned. "The zipper," she said. "I can't reach it. Don't make this weird." I have noticed, over the course of my life, that the people who say "don't make this weird" are almost always already aware that it is. I took the zipper between my thumb and forefinger. The fabric was warm, where it had been against her skin. I pulled it up, slowly, because the dress was old, and the zipper stuck halfway, and I didn't want to tear anything she'd clearly chosen with care. My knuckles brushed the back of her neck once. She didn't flinch. She didn't breathe. I got it to the top. I should have stepped back. That was the script. That was the choreography of 2 years of careful living. Step back. Say all set. Walk to the car. Go to the wedding. Come home. Go to bed. Instead, her shoulders dropped a quarter inch, and she said, very quietly, "Don't let go yet." 5 words. The smallest sentence she had ever spoken in front of me. It landed in the hallway like something heavy had been set down on a wood floor. I did not let go. I kept my hand exactly where it was, fingers still on the metal pull, the back of my knuckles still touching the place where her hair had been pushed aside. I could feel her pulse in the side of her neck, or I imagined I could. Either way, something in me had stopped pretending it didn't know what this was. "Okay," I said. It came out lower than I meant it to. "I won't." She said nothing for a long time. The clock in the kitchen made its small clicking sound. Somewhere outside the window a car door closed, and an engine started and drove away, and we were still standing exactly where we had been. Then she said, "I'm going to turn around. And when I do, I need you to not say anything for a second. Okay?" "Okay." She turned. She did not step back. She looked at the third button of my shirt and not at my face, and her fingers tightened once around her phone. And I noticed, for the first time in 2 years of not noticing, that her hands were shaking. Not dramatically, just enough. I did what I was told. I didn't say anything. I gave her the second. She used it. She closed her eyes for half a breath, and then opened them and looked up. And the look was something I had never seen on her before. Not in 2 years of bad Tuesday television and shared groceries and the casual cruelty of 2 people who had decided early to never be honest about what they were. She said, "I was going to wear a different dress." I waited. "I have 3 other dresses. Any of them would have worked. I picked this one because the zipper sticks. Because I knew I'd have to ask you. Because I have been trying for 4 months to figure out how to stand close enough to you to say something. And I am out of ideas. And I am tired. And I am wearing this stupid dress because it was the only excuse I had left." She heard it after she said it. I watched it happen, the small flicker of her eyes when her own words caught up with her, the half second where she considered taking it back and then visibly chose not to. I did not move. I did not speak. I was doing the math of 2 years in a single hallway, and the math was not flattering. Every Tuesday she had texted me the channel before she left work. Every grocery run she had asked what I wanted, and bought it whether I asked for it or not. Every time I came home late, she was on the couch with a book she wasn't reading. Every morning the coffee was already made. The frog sticker, the water bottle she kept by my chair instead of hers. The way she said my name when she was tired. I had called all of it being good roommates. That is hiding with better branding. "Cora," I said. She closed her eyes. "You don't have to say anything else," I said. "If this is too much, we can pretend you needed help with the zipper. I'll drive you to the wedding. We'll come home. Nothing has to change." I gave her the exit. That part mattered. I needed her to know there was a door, and the door was open, and walking through it would not cost her anything between us. She opened her eyes and looked at me, directly, this time. Not at the third button. At my face. "I don't want the door, Daniel," that landed. That sentence did something quiet to the apartment. "I know you're careful," she said. "I know you've been careful for 2 years. I've watched you be careful. You hand me my mail without our fingers touching. You sleep with your door shut even when it's hot. You ask me 3 times if it's okay before you sit on the couch I'm already on. And I thought for a long time that you were just polite. And then I thought you were not interested. And then about 4 months ago, I realized you were doing all of it on purpose. And the only reason a person is that careful is if they are afraid of what happens when they aren't. I have been described in many ways in my life. Read accurately by a paralegal in a wine-colored dress was not previously on the list. You're not wrong, I said. I know I'm not. I have been trying, I said, not to ruin this. You needed a place to live. Your brother is one of my oldest friends. You are funny and exhausting, and you eat my leftovers, and you put the milk back with the cap loose, and I have spent 2 years deciding that any version of me saying anything would be the worst thing I could do to you. Daniel. Yes, I put the milk cap loose on purpose. To see if you'd say something. You never said anything. About anything. For 2 years. I made a sound that was not quite a laugh. My domestic habits, it turned out, had been under surveillance. I didn't want to be the man who ruined where you lived, I said. I didn't want to be the man you had to be polite to in your own kitchen. I'd rather have you as the person who steals my leftovers than as a person I made uncomfortable for the rest of a lease. She looked at me for a long time. Then she said, I have never been uncomfortable around you. Not once. That's the whole problem. I let go of the zipper. I had been holding it for what felt like an hour and was probably 90 seconds. My hand came down to my side. She didn't step away. Say one true thing, she said, and then we'll go to the wedding. Or we won't. Either way. I thought about it. I have always been a careful person, and careful people have a lot of true things stacked up that they have never said out loud. Every Tuesday, I said, I come home 20 minutes early so I can be there when you get back. I tell myself it's because the office is quiet. It isn't. I leave when you leave, and I come back when you come back, and I have done this every Tuesday for almost a year, and I never once asked myself why. She let out a breath that sounded like she had been holding it since the zipper. That's a true thing, she said. You wanted one. I had several. Tell me another. The frog sticker, I said. On your phone. I look at it when I am trying not to look at you. I look at that frog so often I could draw it from memory. I could draw the small chip in the corner where it started peeling. I have a relationship with that frog. Cora the frog and I have an understanding. She laughed. It came out wrong. Too soft. Too close to a sound that wasn't a laugh. And she put her hand against my chest like she was steadying herself, and then realized she had done it and did not take it back. One more, she said. You said don't let go yet. I said. And I think I have been waiting 2 years for you to say something I couldn't pretend not to hear. And I don't know what we do next. But I'm not letting go yet. If that's still what you wanted. She didn't say anything. She stepped into the half-inch between us that we had spent 2 years refusing to close, and she put her forehead against my collarbone, and she stood there for a long count of breathing. I put my hand on the back of her head, very lightly, like I was the one who needed permission. She said, into my shirt, we are going to be so late to this wedding. I said, Marisol will live. Her phone buzzed in her hand. It was her mother. The screen said Mom in capital letters and a small heart, and beneath it a preview of a text that read, Are you on the road yet? Your father is doing the thing where he checks his watch every 6 seconds. Cora pulled back, looked at her phone, looked at me, and started laughing. Actually laughing this time, the kind she did at her own jokes a half-second early. My mother, she said, has spent 4 months asking me if you and I are finally going to figure it out. I am going to have to call her from the car. She is going to be unbearable. She is going to want a wedding date. Tell her we have one. I said. It's Marisol's. We went to the wedding. We were 40 minutes late. Her cousin did not notice. Her mother noticed within 6 seconds and made a face at Cora across the venue that Cora pretended not to see. We danced once, badly, to a song neither of us knew. On the drive home, she fell asleep against the window with her shoes off and her dress hitched up to her knees and the frog sticker pressed against her thigh. And I drove with one hand on the wheel and one hand resting on the console between us. And at some point she reached over in her sleep and put her hand on top of mine. And I drove the last 40 miles without moving it. 3 months later, she stopped paying her share of rent the way roommates do and started paying it the way the other person in the apartment does, which is to say we stopped tracking it and started arguing about whose turn it was to buy the expensive kind of olive oil. The hallway between our rooms became a hallway between our room and the room where we kept the books. She still left the milk cap loose. I still didn't say anything. We had both, apparently, been doing it on purpose. A year after that, her brother, the one who had asked me not to be weird, sat across from me at a barbecue and said, "So, you were weird." I told him I had been weird for 2 whole years before I did anything about it, which I felt was an acceptable compromise. He toasted me with a beer and said, "She told our mother she knew the first month." I said, "She told me 4 months." He said, "Yeah, she lies to herself slower than she lies to other people." That tracks. 2 years later, when people ask how we got together, Cora tells it like this. She says she wore a dress with a broken zipper on purpose and asked her roommate for help, and her roommate, who was a coward, finally became brave for approximately 90 seconds in a hallway. I tell it like this. She said, "Don't let go yet," and I have spent every day since trying to be the kind of man who deserved having been asked. Both versions are true. The dress is in the back of our closet. The frog sticker is on her new phone. The water bottle that looked like it had survived combat finally died last spring, and we held a small ceremony for it over the trash can. Nothing important had appeared overnight. It had simply stopped hiding. What would you have done if your roommate had gone still under your hands and asked you, in a voice you had never heard before, not to let go yet? And have you ever spent years being careful around someone because you were afraid of what would happen if you weren't? Tell me your story in the comments. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.